Paul McCartney. This is off of his first solo album, which was released in 1970, and I was doing some reading on the album, and apparently, and I kind of forgot this, but it was released before the Beatles' last album, Let It Be, and that caused a lot of controversy. And I'll put a link to the Wikipedia article in the description box below, and also from the Beatles Bible. Some interesting reading there. I just have always really loved this song. It's very simple, but it's got that McCartney genius in it, you know, and a lot of the genius to me is in the fills, but we'll go over those in a second. But let's talk about the main rhythm. Okay, so the whole song is based around this E7 chord, okay, and we're, you know, most guys are used to an E7 like that, or maybe even like this, or this, right? But he's doing it this way, and that's like, take your D7 and just do it with these fingers. Move it up 2 frets in bar, okay, so that's the E7 he's using, and that's kind of the secret to the song, right? And so it starts out with him just going. And the strumming, you know, strumming is proprietary to every person, right? So, but how I hear it and how I sort of think he's doing it is, it's just down, 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 and up on the last one. And I've seen live videos of him playing, and, you know, I think he strums it different all the time. Right? But to get it sounding like the record, I found that, you know, that comes pretty close. Okay, so then, and just take your little finger off, right? So you're gonna get that note in there. And of course, that's when those fills come in. We'll get to those in a minute. And then we go to an A chord, and I play the A like that in this part of the song. You know, always making sure I've got that open E. You could play the A like that standard way, but another good way of playing the A is that way. And I've done this before in some of my videos where it's like playing an A7, basically, right? But then you just fit that first finger in the same fret on the G string. Okay, so. And now we're going to get into the up and down strumming. So it's the A chord, and then F sharp minor. Okay, so again, that's the B minor. And we kind of catch that on the off, right? On the upstroke, we get that B. And we kind of got that. That down is kind of a mute, right? And again, we try to get the upstroke on the next chord, which is actually an F sharp 7. There's 3 guitars on this song, right? So I'm pretty sure one of them is doing an F sharp 7 like that, and it could even be just doing an F sharp. And then another one, I hear that. So, right? So, but, you know, you can fill that in by including the bottom 2 notes, the A string and the E string. But either way, you know, F, F7 that way, F7 that way, F7 that way, it's all going to work, right? So, we do a B, bar chord B, okay, little finger or 3rd finger, and then we trail that down, right? Just B, open A, the G sharp on E4, F sharp, sorry, on E2. So then we just do a straight E chord. Then we've got B7. So. And you'll notice that as I move from that F sharp minor to the B, I'm going to actually upstroke on just open strings. Right? And be with you. And now we play the open E string, and we do this. And at that point, all three guitars are doing that. So it sounds really, really awesome and really full. Okay, so that's just, that form, right? Just G4, E4 with the open B. Open E string. Right? Then we just into the A, E. While the main guitar is the other guitar is kind of accenting. Right? Okay, but then there again, the strumming is going to be different with everyone. That's the main idea. And then, of course, the whole thing just repeats, right? So that's it for the main chords and everything. But what really makes this song is the fills, I think. And the first fills come in, and they're two acoustic guitar parts. So the first fill comes in. Right, that's the main guitar part. And then the first fill guitar comes in like this. And, it's so simple, right? It's just an arpeggio of that chord. So it's like your E major, right? But we're just going to fret here on D9. And we're barring everything else, open E, right? We're just going to straight play through it. And we just come back, right? There's a little delay before he hits that B note. Right? So that's the first guitar. And then the second guitar does the exact same thing, just up a string. But we're, of course, adding this note, which is the E10. So you got the first one. And the second one. And, you pan them left and right. It just sounds like magic there, right? And that one. Right? So, I've always loved those fills. I've always thought, those fills just make this song. And, if you're playing this by yourself, I guess you can do that. You can kind of fake, just do that first one, right? That's up to you to make a choice of what part you want to play. And then the other guitars will just strum the next part. And they just hold that while the first guitar does that little trail down. And then it's the strumming here too. And then the next fill. And the first guitar does this. Okay, just awesome. See, this is the thing about McCartney, right? Like, he just comes up with these things that are so perfect, right? This is kind of his genius, right? It's, when I'm showing it to you, you're going, well, what's the big deal? But it seems so simple, but that's just after the fact. That's explaining it, right? But coming up with is a whole different thing. So it's just like, You know, I do it that way. I play like, it's like an A6, but you know, A6 is an F sharp minor basically. So it's just E5, B7 there on G6 and D7, right? So, and you can hold those, or you could go, just play them separate. And when you hit the last one, you want to slide it down, right? And then we're going to go right, D4, G2, and then slide up to G6, and also hit the high E string, right? And mute the B string with this finger. So you just lay it over there. And then you play like a B chord, right? Just the G string and B string. You don't even really need that there because we got that with the other harmony part. And you don't even really need to hit that E either. Okay, so that's the first one. And then the second one is the same thing up a third, and it goes. So just here on E9, E5, it's just an A major chord, right? B5, G6, and then D7, G6, slide up to G9, and then we just hit that, which is like B7, with just those two notes. So, and be with you, and then all three guitars do that thing there, right? Okay, so let's just go over the first fill. The first guitar is and the second one. And there again, you know, unless you're playing this with three guitars, you're kind of out of luck because you pretty well have to stick to the strumming part, right? But just out of interest's sake, you know, I wanted to definitely include those fills. I just think they're awesome. Okay, and that's pretty well it for this song. Anyways, I hope you get something out of this. Hope you enjoy playing it. And yeah, we'll talk to you next time.